Welcome back to the show, everybody. Let's look at the numbers while we run the headlines here. We got XLS20 token. Looks like it's postponed. We're going to give you an update, and we're going to talk about this. Perianne Boring from the Digital Chamber of Commerce on Fox taking on Gensler. We're going to talk about that. SEC creating a new division for crypto, are they? And India CBDC scheduled to launch possibly by the end of this year. Is it on the XRP ledger? Let's roll that beautiful intro and find out.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. It's $1.117 trillion market cap for crypto. Good morning, everybody. Give CoinPeprico a follow. Download that app on your phone. Bitcoin right now, 22,300 plus, 1,700 plus per Ethereum this morning. XRP is 35 cents. We're up 9.11% on the 7-day. Let's keep an eye on it. Look, we're going to talk about central bank digital currencies before we get out of here, especially when it comes to India and their central bank. But think of this for a moment. The IMF has said it favors the creation of an international system to accept central bank digital currencies, joining other multinational agencies to support CBDCs. This concerted pro-CBDC support is a little more than an effort to suffocate private, independent forms of money. You know, there is a good side to tech and there is a downside to tech, right? And as we move into this new digital world, we can't turn a blind eye to the pros and the cons. And I agree here with Glint that it is concerning. And that's why I've said in the US, I hope we keep a two-tiered system. I hope when they do introduce a retail-facing digital dollar, it is not directly connected to the Federal Reserve, but has a private company that adopts a value protocol that is held to a constitutional standard, so they can't really do censorship the way we see social media doing it for the government at this point. So we'll have to see. It is a tricky time as we move through all of this, and that's the point, and that's why I like Glint. I like working with them, and I love being a customer even more. I used my card this past week at the Apex Developer Conference. They're right. Try the gold alternative to the banking system. It's Glint. Link is right there or underneath of this video, and you can turn God's money into cash for everybody. I love it. I use it all the time. This is Weed Say When, who gives us an update. He says, I know this will feel like a setback for all projects and users already counting the days and hours and minutes until XLS20, the native NFT, on the XRP ledger would go live. But as I have said many times before, we must get things right, not right now. Hiccup, not the end. And this is after reviewing the report from XTokenize. He says here, I feel that the NFT amendment needs a small change. I will remove support for the XLS20 amendment on our XRP Ledger Labs validator and add support again if this issue has been addressed. So we'll keep you up to date as what goes on here. I don't want to drill down too much into the stuff, but I know I trust Weed Say When, and if he says something is not really right, and then we're going to have to go with what he's saying, because it's about getting it right and not being out there first, right? We're playing the long game here, and the long game means you take your time and do it right. So that's interesting right there. We'll keep you up to date. This right here is Perianne Boring from Digital Chamber of Commerce going to bat for crypto and Bitcoin, taking on Gary Gensler this morning, but still no word on that amici filing for the SEC versus Ripple, but we'll have some news on that after this piece. We could certainly use someone like Perianne in our corner when it comes to the SEC versus Ripple, bringing attention to the SEC overreach on all matters concerning crypto. Take a listen to this clip here.
Companies have now applied to the Securities and Exchange Commission for the right to offer a Bitcoin ETF to U.S. investors. All requests have been denied. That's according to a new Chamber of Digital Commerce report out just this morning. Joining me right now in this exclusive interview to discuss the report is the Chamber of Digital Commerce founder and CEO, Perianne Boring. Perianne, great to see you. Why all the denials?
Look, it's definitely been a conundrum to us. There's roughly 41 million Americans that own cryptocurrency today. We can't deny the huge demand for exposure to this new and innovative asset class. And with this being a digital commodity, novel risks come with investing in this space. And given that we have such a huge amount of retail investors looking to invest in Bitcoin, you would think that our regulators would be working with the industry to bring regulated products to the market for retail investors, but they've been stopped at every attempt over the past decade.
Yeah. I don't understand why. I mean, I get the fact that many of these lawmakers do not understand the market, frankly, and I'm questioning how they're actually writing rules for a market they don't understand. Is it a caution about the safety of crypto?
So we detail.
Before she answers very quickly, I've heard Gary Gensler say, and I just want to make note of it for everyone listening here. I have heard Gary Gensler say clearly he's not approving a spot ETF for Bitcoin or any other digital asset until the crypto exchanges come in and register with the SEC. That's what he has said. Keep listening.
This in the report itself, and our best guess and our conclusion is that this has little to do with the industry not being able to meet the SEC's standards to bring an ETF to market, but it has a lot more to do with a larger political agenda. Chairman Gensler has a very aggressive agenda and is looking to expand the SEC's jurisdiction and authority throughout the digital asset ecosystem, and he has laid this out in congressional testimony. So we detail that in the crypto conundrum, and the reason why it's such a conundrum is really going back to those protections for the retail investors. They've accomplished the exact opposite of their mission, and they're discriminating against issuers that operate in this new and innovative environment. It's time for a spot Bitcoin ETF to come to market now.
Yeah, I think you make so many important points. We're looking at crypto this morning with Bitcoin topping $22,000. This is the highest price in about a month ahead of the Consumer Price Index report out tomorrow. Ethereum is also up over $1,700 ahead of the completion of the long-awaited Ethereum merge. Perry, I want to get your thoughts on that, but it sounds like this unwillingness to give the approvals at the SEC is more about who's going to run things? What regulator is going to be in charge? And the SEC wants to make sure that it's going to be the lead regulator. Is that partly what's going on here?
I think that's exactly right. Both Chairman Gensler and CFTC Chairman Benham will be testifying in Congress related to digital assets this week, so we'll be watching that very closely. We are very encouraged by what we've seen in the market over the weekend. Late last week, there were a couple really big announcements. Fidelity announced that they're going to allow retail trading on its platform, and I think this goes right back to the same conversation we had about a spot Bitcoin ETF. Fidelity is one of those issuers that's tried to bring a Bitcoin ETF to market, and now they just announced they're going to open it up directly on their platform. So again, we can't deny the huge amount of interest in making allocations to Bitcoin, particularly when we're in such a dire economic situation with larger macroeconomic issues. Bitcoin is a non-correlated asset. Investors are using it for diversification purposes.
Yeah, I think you make such a great point in bringing up Fidelity, because it was Fidelity who wanted to put Bitcoin in people's 401k plan, or at least have people have that ability, and that really got Elizabeth Warren fired up. The Securities and Exchange Commission announced it's setting up a new office to deal with crypto filings and disclosures from digital asset service providers, Perry-Ann. So clearly they're looking at owning this space in terms of regulatory oversight.
Yeah, this potentially could be a positive thing for digital assets, having dedicated experts looking at this new and novel asset class at the Securities and Exchange Commission to process all the registration statements and other paperwork that it takes to bring crypto-related markets, crypto-related products to the market can be a positive thing. But look, we are a decade into this saga, and we still do not have a defined regulatory framework for digital assets. So while we're encouraged by the creation of this office, without having the broader picture, without having the guardrails in place, this office could have challenges and could be stifled to bring these types of products to the market.
All right, we'll be watching that.
And there you have it. And they are, in fact, working to create a new division. But I want to remind people here what John Deaton has said for a very long time. Everyone needs to accept the fact that if Ripple or the LBRY cases were only about enforcing securities laws, the cases would have settled long ago. This is about Gensler crushing the crypto market in an effort to slow down adoption so that the incumbents can get a bigger slice. And we have talked about that a lot on this channel. And you see right here that the United States SEC is in fact announced that they are in the process of creating two crypto-specific departments. The Office of Crypto Assets and the Office of Industrial Applications and Services will focus on crypto-related regulations. SEC Chairman Gary Gensler said that the most cryptocurrencies are securities like stocks in a company. The SEC is also reportedly in the process of investigating every single crypto exchange in the U.S. And John Deaton has told us to watch out for at least one, if not all of them, to be sued by the SEC as well. And that, I believe, is why we're not getting that spot ETF on top of that all. So Bill Belisario says here, the Office of Crypto Assets, given Gary Gensler's thinks nearly every crypto is a security. I'm amazed he didn't call it the Office of Crypto Security. So am I, Bill. So am I. Digital Chamber of Commerce isn't out of the news just yet. They are seeking to be conferred with the amici status in the summary judgment of the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit to enable it to provide the necessary support to the blockchain company and XRP holders. If you go into this, not much else here to really tell at this point, but Jeremy Hogan gives a hint on what to expect as the Chamber of Digital Commerce is seeking amici status in the Ripple lawsuit. Attorney Hogan mentioned and hinted at what XRP holders should expect. And he says here, the Chamber's arguments will be similar to what the organization filed in the Telegram versus SEC lawsuit, arguing, although the sale of XRP might have been a security, the token is not inherently a security. Similar to John Deaton, just not as compelling. Yeah, Perry Ann, we could certainly use somebody like you in our corner. Wish you were standing up for Ripple the way you stand up for Bitcoin and Ethereum. That is really disturbing as somebody who is the founder of a digital chamber of commerce. Maybe it should have been called the Bitcoin Ethereum Commerce. Let's talk about this. Crypto Insight UK is crushing it. And you know what? Keep an eye out because him and I are going to be getting together for a TikTok. We're going to be doing some kind of a collaboration there. I don't know how it works yet. I haven't done it. It'll be my first one ever. But him and I are going to be getting together on it, and I'm looking forward to it. And this may be one of the topics we talk about here. He says, let's look at this thread at why he thinks pending central bank digital currency will be built on Ripple's XRP ledger. Yes, this is speculation. Go and get a coffee and strap in. This is some pretty damn compelling information right here. Shout out to you, Crypto Insight UK. The path forward for digital asset adoption in India, a policy perspective on the state of play of digital assets globally and recommendations for Indian policymakers. That was June 2020 from Ripple right there. We move forward to the next piece. So let's start with something a lot of you may not know. One of Ripple's original ideas regarding the distribution of XRP was to give it away to every person in India. They didn't follow through with this idea, but it shows the importance of this market to the team at Ripple. And it was Ashish Birla who made that comment. Let's see what he says here. Speaking at the panel on scaling digital disruption in fintech, the vice president of product Ripple, Ashish Birla at the time, said that XRP could win 50% of India market with company focused on the financial sector of the world's second fastest growing economy. We looked early on in India and we looked at 2 billion people, a huge market. And we decided how do you get onto Ripple? Do we give the currency away to every Indian? That's like 2 billion. Just give it away. And so now I think in our pipeline, we have probably 50% of the market in India. either integrated onto Ripple or in the deal, in the sort of pipeline to be signed to India. And guess what? We're going to take that back to Wells Fargo, and we're going to say it's not a better way to send into India than Ripple. Their next thoughts, again, from Ashish Birla, go after the top 3 commercial banks in India, and you get 80% of the market share. XRapid is now called on-demand liquidity. They then looked at a mobile banking and exclaimed in 2018 that in their pipeline, they probably have 50% of the Indian market. That was one idea, but then we realized if you get to the top 3 banks in India onto Ripple, you get 80% of the market share. And then we looked at where's the future. And so we realized in the next 5 years, 1 billion people will become banked in India, but they'll be banked through their phone. So then we started targeting mobile phone providers like telcos. And so now I think that in our pipeline, we have probably 50% of the market in India, either integrated onto Ripple or the deal sort of pipeline to be signed to India. Goes on here to show this, which is basically, so this leads to the question, what did they achieve? Well, they seem to have signed a deal with the Federal Bank of India for new cross-border payment system. If you look right here, Reserve Bank of India, by the way, 671 branches, 681 ATMs. According to the report, both Ripple and Federal Bank have signed an agreement of a partnership to tie up, facilitate Federal Bank to enjoy new corridors, such as new cross-border payments. Moreover, it was reported that the partnership announcement let Federal Bank share soar 52-week higher on March 29th at the time. If we go on quickly right here, next up we have Axis Bank, is the 3rd largest private sector bank in India. Axis Bank covers large, mid-corporates, small, medium enterprises, agriculture, retail businesses. With its 3,485 domestic branches, 14,332 ATMs across the country, Axis Bank launches Ripple-powered instant payment services for retail and corporate customers. That was back in the day. We now have next up is Kotak Mahindra Bank, and leading bank in India with over 1,300 branches. Kotak will use Xcurrent to power instant remittance payments. So you see that connection there. Now we have addressed Ripple's goals with domestic banks. I think it's time we move on to speculate about their central bank and CBDC coming out of India this financial year. We've heard them say it right out of the central bank there. How may Ripple and the XRP ledger be involved? This is where we get speculative, but bear with me, he says. India's central bank, Reserve Bank, has reportedly asked for public sector banks to run a pilot CBDC project ahead of its possible rollout in this financial year. We see here they are now looking for staff partners, engineers, and compliance managers and central bank partner solutions. They had some very interesting positions open at Ripple in India back in early June. And here you can see in India, partner solution director, central bank, senior project manager. So there's connections there that really suggest we may see something. This is speculation, however. One might even say conspiracy theory, right? Ripple also wrote a document suggesting safe and innovative ways to regulate crypto of India. And let's not forget, Ripple have their own CBDC white paper and help countries run trials on private central bank central bank digital currency ledger within the XRPL. It goes on to show this stuff right here, which backs up all of that. And then my last and most interesting part of this speculation is open announcement of Ripple's partnership with the country of Bhutan. Ooh, check this part out. Bhutan's currency, which we know is already working and launching a CBDC off of the private XRP ledger, tied 1-to-1 to the rupee. The national currency of India is also accepted in Bhutan. Why is Bhutan interesting? James Wallace explained in this podcast, the Digital Euro podcast, that they were looking to leverage the Ngontram, which is the dollar there in the Bhutan, the CBDC, to help wholesale, retail, and cross-border aspects of their economy. What's good about that? This becomes even more interesting when we realize Bhutan exports are about 90% to India, and their imports are around 70%. So the question is then, how will the digital Ngontram affect the India-Bhutan and payment flow? One final thought is timing. Well, as quoted above, India is testing their digital currency as we speak, and we are looking to potential rollout by the end of this financial year. This looks similar to Bhutan, who have suggested their rollout will happen by 2023. All of this seems to be really coming together and makes sense that they would use the XRP ledger and have XRP as a neutral bridge asset, right? That's all, folks. Look, it is speculation, but it is quite compelling and certainly something for all of us to want to pay very, very close attention to. And I remind everybody that Anthony Welfare told us that in the next upcoming near term, weeks or days or whatever it is, there will be more announcements of central bank digital currencies being launched on the private XRP ledger. And he told us that, and that is an advisor from Ripple. This, however, is Raoul Pal from Real Vision. And listen to what he says in this very short clip about XRP.
And this one comes to us from Serkan Orbe. And the question is, what about XRP? Obviously, they're talking about Ripple. Any thoughts there, Raoul?
Yeah, so there's this weird narrative from the past about Ripple. The point being is, even if they have to settle a lawsuit and get a slap on the wrist, Ripple plays actually quite an important role. It's a money transmission network, and it does quite a good job of it. And it has deep connections with global governments around the world and has worked really hard on it. So there is a reason the chain is valued as highly as it is, and it's not from speculation, because actually, it got taken off a whole bunch of exchanges because of the lawsuit. It's actually because when I use my Netcast law model, the amount of value that gets transacted on the chain is very high. It's being used. So I think if you lift the legal issue, probability is that the value of the chain increases significantly. And as the world moves towards central bank digital currencies, I think the XRP network is going to be somewhere at the center of all of that. So, yeah, I don't rule it out. I know it's not flavor of the day for a lot of people. I think it's a big player, it's a real player, and it has its niche.
And this one is...
And there you have it. And I do too, but it's not financial advice from him, me, or anyone else on this channel. It's just my digital perspectives. That's going to do it for me. Hit that like and subscribe. Check out all the links underneath the video. The great products and specials I use each and every day with great deals too. But you got to click the links to get them. I'll catch all of you on the next one.